Hello and Assalamu alaikum. Hope you all are doing fine. Today we are going to start off with the first topic of this book, which we are going to follow for grade 8, and this is New Secondary Science by David Kapok. So, the first lecture today we will try to cover the carbon oxygen cycle and understand the terms ecosystem and greenhouse effect. Now, as I have already told you that this lecture and these series of videos would be dedicated to grade 8 students, and I would be covering their core curriculum which is being followed at their schools. So let us start off with this term ecology. What do we understand by this word ecology? Well, let me tell you that ecology is a word given to the study of ecosystem. Now you might wonder, what is an ecosystem? Well, ecosystem, you can define it in your own words, like you can say ecosystem is the collaborative living of all forms of life. Now, what do we mean by all forms of life? Well, all forms of life, we can say they can be either living or non-living. So an ecosystem is formed, an ecosystem is developed when these all forms of life, living or non-living, they are living in collaboration. So now we are going to define some scientific terms which has been given to these factors. Now, living or living forms of life are said to be biotic factors, and non-living are abiotic factors. Now, you can think of all the living things, living organisms, living species. Well, it's wrong to say living things. We can say living organisms, living species, and they are the biotic factors. You can come up with various examples, like we ourselves are humans, we are living things. Living species, and trees, plants, vegetation, all of that form of life is living. So we can say it that these are the biotic factors, including the animals, the insects, the vegetations, all. And for abiotic factors, you can come up with the example of our own environment. It is a abiotic factor. The air which we are breathing in, that is an abiotic factor. The mountains, that is those are the abiotic factors. Those are included in the abiotic factors, mountains. Similarly, seas and oceans, land, surface, clouds, all of these are abiotic factors. And we living species and non-living things, we have already defined them. All of us are living in a collaborative way of life. And where are we? Most importantly, in the Earth's atmosphere. So, let us summarize what we have done till now. We said that ecology is the study of ecosystem, and ecosystem is the collaborative living of biotic and abiotic factors of life within the Earth's atmosphere. This is our ecosystem, the Earth's atmosphere, as it is being defined by your book and the level at which you are studying. Now, if you ask me, ecosystem includes our solar system also in an interesting one, and we will talk about it, that how solar system is also now being included in our ecosystem because we have been going over there. We have been reaching the outer spaces, outer atmosphere of the Earth. We are orbiting more than 5,000 satellites around the Earth. So that is also a part of our ecosystem, and what we do over there do have an impact here on our next objective, which was to explain the carbon oxygen cycle and its importance. Well, here is a few diagram, and as you can see, I'm not good at drawing diagrams, but still I hope that I'm good enough to explain this to you. Well, let me briefly tell you that this is the sun, our very own sun. Remember that sun is the primary energy source, not for the earth, but for all of our solar system. And because of this sun's energy, life exists as we know. So here I have tried to draw a sketch of the a common sketch of a city life where we have a house which is cooking food, we have an industry which is burning fuel, we have animals, those are grazing, and we have trees, plants, birds flying around, we have kids, human beings, and also on beneath they are decomposing. So what is happening over here? How is, as we have discussed a few minutes ago, that ecosystem is the combination, is the collaborative living of biotic and abiotic factors, living and non-living things. So primary thing is the atmosphere, the air. What's happening over here is that, let us recall the concept of photosynthesis. As the sun shines on the planet, on the blue planet, the trees and the vegetation, they undergo a process called photosynthesis. In simple terms, we can say that this is a process in which plants make their own food. This is the beauty of the nature, that plants are manufacturing their own food, utilizing the sun's energy, harnessing the sun's energy. They are making their own food with the constituents. Constituents are the ingredients, which are carbon dioxide and water. In presence of sunlight, they will produce oxygen and glucose for the plants. Well, glucose have uh, certain functions to react with minerals for the health of plant. Well, we are interested in this oxygen. This is the very oxygen we are breathing. The animals are breathing. All forms of biotic factors, they are breathing this oxygen. Even the fish, which is beneath the sea, beneath the oceans, they also breathe oxygen. So, this is how oxygen is being produced not only by the vegetation on the land, it accounts for 35%, 75% of the oxygen comes from the oceans. So, photosynthesis is a process in which plants make their own food. How, what is the uh, reaction? It is that carbon dioxide reacts with, combines with water to form oxygen and glucose. Now, this oxygen is being consumed by all forms of life. Now, there's another process. What we do with this oxygen? Well, we respire, and that process is known as respiration. It is a process through which we live, we breathe. In this process, oxygen combines with glucose to produce energy and carbon dioxide. Both these processes, as you can see, they are opposite to each other. Here in photosynthesis, plants are utilizing the carbon dioxide which is present in the atmosphere plus water to produce oxygen, whereas in respiration, this very oxygen is reacting in presence with glucose to create energy and carbon dioxide. That's what we are doing when we breathe. When we breathe in, you see, I have inhaled oxygen. And when you breathe out, I have exhaled carbon dioxide. Now, this also accounts for that atmospheric percentage of carbon dioxide, which is already present in this atmosphere, along with the burning of fuel. These respiration of for animals, respiration for birds, respiration for plants even. Plants also respire, but during the night time. So now that we can see, we can conclude, come to a conclusion that how this carbon oxygen cycle is working. The first and foremost important thing is for you to know is that all forms of life present as we know of do consist of carbon. We ourselves, humans, we consist of carbon. We have carbon. We are made up of carbon, along with obviously other elements, star stuff, as I would like to put it. So, it is building block of proteins. It is building block of fibers. It is building block of fats. So, it is very important. For oxygen, it is also equally important for us to live, for living things to survive. So this cycle is, what do you understand by a cycle? A cycle, you can say that whenever the cycle completes, it returns back to its original position. Let us start this cycle with carbon dioxide that is present in this air through this burning of fossil fuels, through household cooking, through respiration of birds, animals, human beings, all are exhaling carbon dioxide into the atmosphere. Even decomposing materials, they also release gases, including carbon dioxide and a part of methane sometimes. So, here carbon dioxide is present in the atmosphere. Now, what is happening? Vegetation is already present. That vegetation would eat up all of this carbon dioxide. This vegetation also, here also. Now, for a fact, you must know that the only way to eliminate carbon dioxide from the atmosphere is by vegetation or plants or trees. Research is going on that how we can neutralize this excess amount of carbon dioxide present in air. So this carbon dioxide is being eaten up by the vegetation. What's happening? Then what happens when this carbon dioxide is eaten up by the vegetation? It produces oxygen. What happens? This oxygen is utilized by these living things. In return, they again produce carbon dioxide. So we started off with carbon dioxide and ended up with carbon dioxide. So you can say that it's a carbon oxygen cycle. This is how uh, carbon and oxygen cycle helps our environment and makes it sustainable and suitable for the forms of life which you can see in the present planet Earth. Now, this sun, we are going to define this greenhouse effect. As you can see, the sun rays, some of them are reflected. Rather, I would say most of them are reflected. A few enters the Earth's atmosphere, are successful to enter the Earth's atmosphere. The reflected ones are reflected by nature's shield known as ozone. It's a layer, okay? It has a thickness, and this is the chemical composition of ozone. So this ozone reflects back these highly energetic electromagnetic waves, including gamma, X-rays, microwaves, also ultraviolet. If for a few moments even you take off this shield, know what would happen? Everything would boil up due to the intense energetic electromagnetic waves. But thanks to the nature and the beautiful phenomena, it is being reflected back into the space. Now, coming to the rays which are entering, they mainly consist of the visible light. Well, light is not visible. Anyhow, the light and also a portion of near infrared radiations, which are closer to, whose wavelengths are closer to the wavelength of light. We call them near infrared radiations. Now, these, this nitrogen, oxygen, carbon dioxide, methane, other parts of other gases which are also present in the Earth's atmosphere, but in lesser quantity. So, carbon dioxide is believed to be around 2 to 3% in the Earth's atmosphere. So, this 2 to 3%, what happens is that when these rays enter the Earth's atmosphere, these two gases, they start to heat up. Why they heat up? This is the very nature of these gases. Due to their structure, internal structure, we are not going into the detail, but what here you need to understand is that these two gases, not oxygen, not nitrogen, but carbon dioxide and methane, they both heat up whenever a energy source is near them, or energy source heats them up or vibrates them, excites them. So this heating gases, those has this tendency to heat up, they are known as greenhouse gases. Now, if you see that these greenhouse gases, especially carbon dioxide, it is very important for this earth, for our planet, for the life to survive, to life to sustain. If there would be no carbon dioxide, let us suppose, what would happen? There would be no photosynthesis. If there is no photosynthesis, there is no oxygen. Even the oceans produce this oxygen mainly through plankton plant. Okay? So the main source of oxygen is for this planet Earth is plants. So carbon dioxide has to be present in the atmosphere. Secondly, the important thing about this carbon dioxide is that it creates a greenhouse effect. A greenhouse effect. What is a greenhouse effect? Well, we have already explained what are greenhouse gases that have this tendency to heat up. Now, this greenhouse effect is the warming up of the atmosphere, of the environment, due to the presence of greenhouse gases. That is the greenhouse effect. And due to this greenhouse effect, Earth is generally warm. Now, for comparison, you can see that carbon dioxide is a heavy gas, okay, compared to other gases. Now, due to its weight, it sinks in. It sinks in. Its presence is near to the surface of the earth. It is not like helium, which flies away. Okay? So, as how you can exemplify it, as you move upwards into the space, going to the space, aiming for the stars, what's happening that the temperature is dropping. Why there is a drop in temperature? Because of the non-presence of this carbon dioxide. So this is another evidence that carbon dioxide is a greenhouse gas and it warms up the atmosphere where we live. So now let's conclude today's video by going through what we have done. We have read about ecology, about ecosystem, and we are also able to define with examples biotic factors, abiotic factors, and the carbon oxygen cycle and its importance obviously for a sustainable environment. If you ask me in one sentence, what is the importance of carbon oxygen cycle and why do we need to understand it? Because it is really important for the survival of this planet, for the sustainability of its environment. That is why we are studying ecology, to get involved with nature, to belong to nature. I hope you have understood it, understood the concept. So that's all for today. Stay tuned for the follow up and upcoming lectures on the same topic. Inshallah, stay blessed.